Hey dudes, and welcome back to the Bantz. As always, I am your host, the Bantz, and it's finally once again Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend, and to start off the week, we have our first What's Happening in Fashion this week, so let's just get right into it. And just a quick heads up, guys, just wanted to let you know that yesterday we put out our What's Happening in Fashion Best of the Month for the month of April. Yes, it's a little late, but it's finally here. So if you're interested in seeing that, I will put the link down below as well. But with that said, let's just jump right into things. And first up, of course, we have our headlines for the day. And starting us off, the Council of Fashion Designers of America just announced all of their 2018 award winners, and there's definitely one in here that we need to talk about. So a brief bit of backstory here. The CFDA does this award show every year, and the whole point of it is to recognize outstanding contributions made to American fashion in the form of menswear, womenswear, accessories, lifetime achievement awards, and a couple other awards as well. So why are we talking about it today? Well, that's because Supreme won the menswear award. Now, there really are a slew of reasons why this is really just kind of fucked up. So let's go over the major ones. And I do want to apologize in advance because this rant is probably going to go on for a fairly long time. Now, first up, and kind of looking at it from Supreme's side, from the streetwear side of things, it's really kind of screwed up to see them even in the nomination list to begin with. And the reason why I say that is because over the past many years, decades if you will, higher fashion, luxury fashion, fashion houses haven't really ever given streetwear the time of day. It's always kind of been looked over and laughed at, and really the only reason that Supreme and Off-White, yes, Off-White was nominated too, the only reason why these two brands are even in the nominations is just solely for the CFDA to get any semblance of publicity that they possibly can. Really, if Supreme had never collaborated with Louis Vuitton, and if Virgil wasn't designing now for Louis Vuitton, there's a very high likelihood that neither of their brands would be here. And it really just goes to show that any award show, be it music, movies, TV, or in this case, fashion, is all just a popularity contest to see who can get the most ratings, who can get the most views, and who can get the most eyes on their brands for the future, really. But then moving on into our second and really our main point here is that both of these brands, Supreme and Off-White, just really don't deserve to be here in any aspect. Even though I did just kind of point out a little bit of the hypocrisy in the fact that the CFDA has always kind of overlooked and laughed at the streetwear game, the unfortunate thing is that there's actually some reasonability in that. You see, streetwear has never really been known for being on the edge, on the cusp of fashion design. And that's not a bad thing by any means. I mean, for most people, the idea of just a nice graphic tee, maybe a nice hat, maybe a nice pair of sneakers is all that really matters. And that doesn't mean you can't find the beauty or the artistry in these things as well too. But going back to the CFDA's own definition, streetwear has never really made an outstanding contribution to American fashion by any means, really. And just take a look at the other nominees in this menswear list. Aside from Supreme and Off-White, we have Raf Simons, we have Tom Ford, and we have Thom Browne, all of which who have won this award before, if not multiple times. And you're gonna tell me that all three of these brands, of these designers, are less worthy than a company that only makes and is only renowned for box logo graphic tees? That's just fucking stupid. If all the other things that have happened to Supreme over the last year haven't counted as jumping the shark for the brand, well then this is definitely it. And maybe it's just my opinion, but this is just another nail in the coffin for Supreme in my eyes. But then again, at this point, only time can really tell. Then in our second headline of the day, Kaws and Uniqlo came together to show off their newest collaboration, this time based on Sesame Street, and I actually think it's pretty fantastic. But personally, I am a little bit biased for this collection because 1, I am a huge Kaws fan, and 2, I am also a huge Jim Henson fan. So I personally will probably be picking up at least a couple pieces here. Will I wear them? That's hard to say. At the very least, you probably will see at least 1 or 2 go up on this wall behind me though. But even putting my biases aside, this collection still is very well done. There's a very nice inclusion of both Kaws characters and Sesame Street characters. The drawings that are all done by Kaws are very nicely done too, and the graphics look really up to point as per usual in a lot of Uniqlo pieces. And the embroideries on the pocket tees also look very nice and clean as well. And I know I do sound like a broken record when talking about this, as I constantly do when talking about Uniqlo, but getting these t-shirts for $15 is just such a fucking steal in my opinion. So be on the lookout for these. These drop on June 28th online on the Uniqlo site, and be quick because you know resellers are going to be trying their best to grab as many of these as they can. Okay, and finally let's move on into our art stories for the day. And first up, Juxtapose sat down for a very nice and very in-depth interview with the brothers of Gemenos to go over a little bit of their background, a little bit of their history, a little bit of their upbringing, all the way up to where they are today. And all I gotta say is if you are a fan of them, or maybe they're brand new to you, definitely check out this article, if nothing for at least the pictures, but overall very insightful piece. Then Alicia McCarthy showed off some of her newest works, and if you find yourself a fan of just really simplistic art along with just some nice colors, you'll definitely enjoy these. And lastly, Juxtapose sat down for another, albeit much more brief interview, this time with graffiti artist D-Face, talking about some of his newest works, his newest mural, and just other upcoming things for the artist. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about him, then I definitely check this out as well. Alright, and now moving back into fashion, designer John Elliott came together with department store Selfridges for their newest capsule collection, and honestly, I have to give credit where credit is due. And I know what many of you are thinking. The Bantz, you just think that John Elliott is overpriced and underdesigned and boring for the most part. And yeah, this collection is totally all three of those things. But the reason why I'm giving credit where credit is due is because the entire premise of this capsule collection is sustainability. All the pieces here are either made from recycled or organic textiles and fabrics, and all the dyeing processes used here are either mud dyes or charcoal dyes. No other chemical dyes used. So even though I won't be buying this because it's ugly and boring and way too expensive for what it is, at the very least it's really nice to see another designer, albeit a terrible one, jump onto the sustainability train. Then boutique Bodega showed off their newest Surf is Dead capsule collection, and this is just too funny. You know how you can tell when a brand is really dead? When they take all the designs and all the graphics that made them into what they are and abandon them for designs and graphics that are made popular by other brands that are still doing well in an attempt to just grab any cash they possibly can from their dying brand. But hey, maybe I'm wrong and Surf is Dead becomes Cav Amped 2.0, like the other 1,000 brands that haven't already tried that. Then brand Second Best showed off their newest collection, and for as many interesting ideas as they had here, and for as much as I wanted to like it, I think they just barely missed the mark on some of these pieces. Now let me explain. Starting off with some of the more lighter pieces here, the more basic pieces here, we see kind of a mix of what I'd consider that more mature streetwear vibe we've been seeing a lot more recently, mixed with what I would consider just general contemporary pieces. But then moving on into the more experimental pieces, whether it be experimental design wise or experimental aesthetic wise, I think the ideas are really cool. But with that said, the way that they're pulled off here in both forms, the design form and the aesthetic form, they just don't work exactly right in my opinion. They just feel a little bit too off, a little bit too clunky. But I do have to say, if they can figure out a way to kind of clean these ideas up, they will make some definitely amazing pieces in the future. So at the very least, really interesting ideas, Second Best, and really looking forward to what the next season or next collection brings. And lastly, Julius showed off their newest resort collection, their 2019 collection, and finally it's starting to feel like a return to form in a good way. Now, over the last few years, I really do feel like Horikawa has been kind of experimenting with some designs that feel a little bit more popular, a little bit more trendy, and really aren't up to snuff when it comes to Julius in my mind. And I really do feel like these extra baggy, oversized silhouettes and just extra use of added color had really kind of toned down the brand and really made it something that it really wasn't, or at least wasn't supposed to be, to me at least. But here we're starting to see more of an evolution on what Horikawa was doing before. Sure, there are some baggy pieces in here, but they're definitely not oversized, and we're definitely seeing a lot more slim silhouettes in here as well. And the colors, of course, are much more muted, much more toned down, much more in line with what you'd expect from a advent designer on Julius's level, where letting the aesthetics and the designs reign supreme over the colors and the patterns. However, there are still a few blunders, I guess you could say, in this collection. Everything isn't perfect, but it is by far leagues, and I mean leagues, above what Horikawa has been doing the last couple of years. So hopefully with this collection we see a little bit more of a rise in popularity, a little bit more of a rise in sales, and Horikawa can go back to doing what he does best. Okay, and finally let's finish up with our articles for the day. And first up, Heddles did a very nice interview with the people behind Shockoe Denim, a brand that kind of runs off the idea that all of their products are made by immigrants in the US. It's their way of showing that even though we aren't all immigrants now, at one point we were, and it's definitely not a bad thing. And the interview kind of goes in depth into how they've been doing, how they've been expanding, their thoughts on closures of a lot of American-made denim mills and designers, and really interesting overall. If you are a fan of denim, especially US-made denim, I definitely give this a read. Then High Snobiety put out a very nice overview on the Copenhagen Fashion Summit, which is basically a summit where a bunch of different industry workers and designers can come together to talk about sustainability in the industry and trying to reduce waste or hazardous working conditions, things along those lines. So if you are very interested in any of those aspects, I definitely check this out. And lastly, site Shoegazing did a very nice, very in-depth breakdown of the kind of disassembly of a shoe and really what goes into making a shoe. And it's very fascinating. They really take it step by step. They do show a lot of pictures. And if you don't know a lot about cobblery, then this will probably be very eye-opening to you. And whether you are a fan of footwear or not, I do think at the very least you should check this out. Alright guys, and with that we come to the end of our first Whiff of the week. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And as always, if you guys want to read any of the articles I talked about today or look at some more images that I wasn't able to include, I've linked all the articles I talked about today in the description down below. And if you guys are new here, then welcome. We do these What's Happening in Fashion videos twice a week on Mondays and Fridays, with the occasional other videos thrown in here and there. So if you are a fan, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, if you just have any questions or comments or concerns, or even just want to talk fashion at all, feel free to hit me up in the comments down below. I am always willing to talk fashion. And thank you guys as always for watching these videos and supporting my content. I hope you guys have a good couple days until I see you next, and as always, until next time.